In January 2024, Rick Harrison stood in front of the cameras. His face was worn and sad. He broke down in tears as he said, "My beloved son Adam has died from a fentanyl overdose." Fans never saw this coming from the Pawn Stars' father, who died at age 59. Behind the huge popularity of the History Channel's most popular show was a terrible tragedy in the Harrison family that would change their lives forever. Millions of people watched to see rare treasures and million-dollar deals, but the real drama was going on behind the scenes. The Harrison family business was slowly falling apart because of lawsuits, drug abuse, death, and money problems. Let's take a look behind the scenes at America's most famous pawn shop and show you the shocking truth that the makers didn't want you to see. Pawn Stars is one of the most popular television shows in the United States. People have been fascinated by the goings-on at the Las Vegas gold and silver pawn shop since 2009. Rick Harrison took a small family business and made it famous all over the world by being the face of this company. He made a living by dealing in strange items and rare treasures. He turned a small pawn shop into TV gold. By January 2011, Pawn Stars had become the most popular show on the History Channel, with 7.6 million watchers. It changed the way people watched both pawn shops and reality TV. It looked like the perfect success story, a father and son working with the cute Chumlee to teach people about historical objects and make smart business deals. The recipe worked really well. Spin-offs like Pawn Stars Do America grew the brand's popularity and are usually among the most watched History Channel shows. It was still the sixth most watched show on the network in March 2025, with almost 400,000 regular watchers. Behind this carefully crafted picture of family unity and business success, though, something else was beginning to take shape, one that the Harrisons were afraid would destroy everything they had worked for. After the death of family patriarch Richard Harrison in 2018, the Harrison dynasty started to fall apart. Fans were sad about the old man's death on screen, but behind the scenes, his death led to a nasty court case that split the family apart. Richard Harrison's mother, Joanne Harrison, sued her son, saying she was tricked into giving up her 51% ownership of the pawn shop while she was sick and healing. The accusations were very bad. Joanne said that Rick had taken advantage of the fact that she was weak to take over the business by blocking her access to financial records and even the $500,000 that Richard had saved up in cash and silver before he died. The family fight quickly turned into more than just an argument. Joanne went to court to get control of her share of the business and demanded that Rick show her specific financial records. Things got so heated that she put in a restraining order against her son, telling him he couldn't sell or move family property. What viewers thought was a united family on TV turned out to be a relationship that was falling apart because of charges of betrayal and financial wrongdoing. For a show that was based on the idea of family history, this court case was an existential danger. Not only was there fighting in the family, but the gold and silver pawn shop was also having money problems that made it impossible for it to stay open. The COVID-19 outbreak was especially bad in Las Vegas, killing tourists and destroying businesses there. It had a terrible effect on the Harrison family. The pawn shop used to be very successful and made over $1 million a year, but in 2020, it only made $37,000. An incredible 96% drop. The Pawn Stars empire's finances started to fall apart as fewer people came in and sales dropped. The pandemic showed holes in the business plan that had been hidden by the show's popularity on TV. Even though the shop was known all over the world, it still counted a lot on tourists coming to Las Vegas. When that stopped, money stopped coming in. Behind the scenes, Rick was having a hard time keeping the business going while also dealing with his mother's case and keeping up the public image that the show needed. It was clear that things were very bad. Fame on TV didn't mean a business would stay open, and the gold and silver pawn shop was struggling to stay open, just like many other small companies across the United States. The family's problems were made worse by the scams involving important cast members. People loved Chumlee as the goofy sidekick on Pawn Stars. But in 2016, police raided his home and charged him with serious crimes. What started out as an investigation into attack claims quickly grew when police found illegal drugs and guns that had not been registered. Chumlee was charged with several felonies, including drug possession and weapons crimes. Through a plea deal, he avoided going to jail, but the incident did a lot of damage to his character and made the show look less family-friendly. In public, Corey, also known as Big Hoss Harrison, Rick's son, and the likely pawn shop heir, fought his own problems. Witnesses said he urinated in public and threw a bar stool across the room after drinking a lot during a motorbike tour stop in Jefferson City. This made him famous. The embarrassing event was just one of many problems that Corey had to deal with. For example, in 2021, he got into a court battle over a rental RV that was damaged and needed $30,000 in repairs. These private issues hurt Corey's reputation as a trustworthy businessman who could run the family business. While these real-life events were going on, the show started to change in ways that turned off longtime fans. People loved the first few seasons of Pawn Stars because they were so real. Real customers brought in unexpected treasures, there were real negotiations, and there were educational conversations about historical artifacts. But as the show's ratings went up, rumors spread that many of the things it showed had been chosen and graded ahead of time. Pawn Stars used to be so interesting because it was full of unexpected events. But now, planned situations were added to make the show more dramatic instead of showing how real pawn shops work. The show went from being about historical treasures to being about family problems, which made it more like a true soap opera. Cast members who used to seem real now seemed to be playing inflated versions of themselves. Longtime viewers noticed the change and said the show was putting too much emphasis on fake drama instead of the real treasure hunts that had drawn them in the first place. There were still fans of Pawn Stars, but the show no longer had the magic of the first few seasons where anything could happen when a customer walked in. Rick Harrison tried to grow his business by using the show's popularity to make more money, but his efforts had mixed effects. In 2015, he opened Pawn Plaza, a shopping and dining area next to the gold and silver pawn shop. The idea seemed like a good one. Bring in people who came to see the famous store from TV and give them more shopping and eating choices. But Pawn Plaza quickly failed because it couldn't bring in enough customers to keep the company's inside open. Within a few years, a number of businesses had shut down, leaving empty spaces and unhappy business owners. The previous renters didn't leave quietly. Some people sued Rick, saying that he didn't help them with their businesses financially or with advertising enough, which killed the companies from the start. Pawn Plaza became an obvious sign of overreach, showing that being famous on TV doesn't always mean starting a successful business. The failed expansion showed that Pawn Stars' carefully crafted image had yet another flaw, showing that the business sense shown on screen might not always translate to real-life business. There was trouble with even the experts who gave the show respect. A man named Johnny Jimenez Jr., who collects old toys, was caught on camera reportedly hitting his girlfriend outside of a Las Vegas restaurant. John Reznikoff made a big mistake when he thought that a signature on a script for The Godfather belonged to Al Pacino when it actually belonged to director Al Ruddy. The incident involving sports memorabilia expert Drew Max, who was charged with certifying fake sports items that were then sold at auction, was the worst. These events hurt the teaching value of the show and made viewers wonder how much they could trust the facts that were being shown. Even with these problems, Pawn Stars has made a lasting impact on society. It changed the way reality TV was made. Many others to follow suit, and it changed how people think about pawn shops. Before the show, a lot of Americans thought of pawn shops as places where desperate people could get bad deals. Pawn Stars changed people's ideas about pawning by showing it as a real business with history, bargaining skills, and hidden gems. The gold and silver pawn shop became a popular place for tourists to visit. Fans came from all over the world to see Rick, Corey, or Kum Lee in action. Their worst tragedy happened in January 2024, when Rick's son Adam died of an abuse of fentanyl. He was only 39 years old. Adam wasn't a big part of the show, but his death showed the painful personal problems that went on behind the scenes. Rick's public sadness showed that the Harrisons had the same terrible losses as any other family, even though they were famous and wealthy. Adam's death from fentanyl linked the Harrisons to the current opioid crisis in the United States. This made a sad truth very clear to the show's millions of fans. As Pawn Stars continues to air on TV, the question of what this famous show will really leave behind remains. Is it to teach us about historical objects or to entertain us by showing how skilled people can negotiate? Or is it to warn us about how fame can make family relationships and business operations more difficult? It could be a mix of all of these things: real skill and fake drama, business success and personal failure, public personas and private struggles. The truth about Pawn Stars is that there is a family dealing with problems that touch all of us behind every $1 million deal and priceless artifact. Problems with money, getting sick, legal issues, drug abuse, and loss. Their story isn't valuable because of the rare coins or old cars that come through their shop. It's valuable because it shows that even people who make it big on TV can face the hardest things in life. One thing is still clear as Rick Harrison continues to put his life back together after a tragedy, lawsuits, and business failures. In life and pawn shops, things that look important at first glance don't always have real value in the long run. It's now up to what the Harrison legacy will be based on, what they built together, or what fell apart when the cameras were off.